Hey team, what is today? Happy Tuesday. Here we are, El Show Sin Fronteras. I'm here live with you guys on Tuesdays in English for 30 minutes. We're talking through the news that we're seeing in the headlines, how to interpret it, what does it all mean? We're talking about it, we're having discussion. I'm answering your questions about your immigration cases, and we are doing a tip of the week. You know what I just thought about? I don't know if I have a tip of the week prepared for you. I'll have to do a tip of the week on the fly this week, but that's okay. We can do that. There's so many things that we can be doing to help the immigrant community and provide our support. And they, of course, our immigrant community needs our support now more than ever before. So let's get to the news. Just as a quick reminder, I'm attorney Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. My immigration law firm helps keep immigrant families together. We are based in Central Texas, but we are a virtual federal immigration law firm, which means we can help people around the entire globe and all 50 United States. We are still offering free consultations, and we provide lots of resources to our immigrant community, like safety planning packets. One of the things that we go over in a consultation is how do you protect yourself in interactions with law enforcement. We do a ton of community engagement like the show, but also we have El Voz Sin Fronteras, which is our community engagement project that goes out into the community and brings Know Your Rights materials, safety planning packets, red cards. And I was talking with the League of Women Voters yesterday. We are going to start voter registration. As you guys know, this next election that we have coming up in 2026 is critical. So we need the folks who are U.S. citizens who haven't ever voted before to start registering to vote and get ready to vote and vote for the first time in the midterm elections. Let's have an unprecedented turnout in formerly unregistered voters this election. What do you say? Should we just turn this country around? Because it's really not good right now, right? So let's start getting more people registered. Stick with me. We're going to be turning out voter registration. And if you've been following me, you know I'm also running for office for the first time in my life, which is I don't necessarily recommend, although I do recommend it. We all need to be stepping up and running for office or putting ourselves out there. But it is a wildness, this whole political realm. And, you know, my promise to you guys, I'll stay true to what we stand for, in keeping immigrant families together. But I'm also bringing you with me on the journey. I'm an open book. This is a very transparent situation. If you follow me, you know there's videos coming out multiple times a day of what's going on with me, my thoughts and opinions on things. And I will be sharing this whole journey with you as I go through the process of running for office. I'm only about 2 or 3 weeks into the campaign, and it's been fun. I've been connecting with really neat people, learning really interesting things about HD50, which is James Tallarico's district. He's, of course, is running for U.S. Senate in Texas, and so his seat is vacated. HD50 is Northeast Austin. It's parts of Manor, parts of Round Rock, parts of Pflugerville, and parts of Austin. It actually contains all 4 school districts within that one district. It's 250,000 people. A lot of people are renters, very majority Hispanic district, really, and just family folks in that district. But of course, when someone represents as a legislator the state, their district, they are also speaking on behalf of everyone in the state when they're making decisions. And so that's really my goal. Of course, as a resident of HD50 and running for HD50, I'll be focusing on that. But also, I got my eyes on Texas and helping families in Texas live a safer and easier and just more thriving life. That's the end game. But enough about the campaign. We're here for immigration things, and there are lots of news to go over. So here we go. Last week, there was an attack on an ICE facility in Dallas. This was a gunman, a shooter from a rooftop who shot and killed now 2 ICE detainees. And then he turned the gun on himself and killed himself. DHS is putting out statements that this person was anti-ICE and that this killing, the shooting, was motivated as an attack on law enforcement. They are claiming that there are shell casings that have anti-ICE terminology. I will just note, this is now the second time that we have heard the administration tell us that their evidence is that there is something written on a shell casing. That's coincidental to me. I will also note that if the shooter was going after ICE, it is also of note that the only people harmed were immigrants. So that this shooter was probably, if this is true, a really, really bad shot. And it's a really tragic outcome because these immigrants were checking in to their legal immigration check-in appointments, and ICE is taking the decision to detain these people, and they're locking them inside a building or a bus, handcuffed, unable to protect themselves or their own lives, and they are being shot at and killed. And it is incumbent upon law enforcement or the government, when they take somebody's liberty away, to keep that person safe and sound. That's pretty basic. You're going to take somebody's liberty away, you better keep them safe. If you are the owner of a pet, you're in charge of their safety. You keep them safe. If you are a parent and you have small children, your job is to keep them safe. If you are a government and you take someone into your custody such that they cannot make their own decisions about their own safety, you keep them safe. So pay attention to the rhetoric that you're going to hear. I was just watching some ridiculous videos this morning coming out from DHS official accounts. They're going to try to convince us that this is an attack on law enforcement and that law enforcement is coming for us, and anybody goes after law enforcement is going to get shot and killed. And they're positioning themselves as the victim in this attack. But remember that the people who were killed in this attack were the immigrants who were under the custody and care of the Department of Homeland Security, and they were killed. So they were not cared for adequately. That is the bottom line. And I'm really sorry to have to report that the second victim has died. He was in critical care. He's a father of 4, young man in his early 30s, married, just bought a house, was at his ICE check-in, and was killed by this gunman. So not much to say other than what a tragedy, what a horrific and awful tragedy that is. Let's move on. More news. We've been talking about Senate Bill 4 in Texas. SB 4 was a law in which the Texas legislature attempted to create a state-level crime for immigration violations. The Biden administration sued. Trump administration revoked its support for that lawsuit, but there were some nonprofits that continued, and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has continued the block on SB 4, meaning states cannot create immigration laws. That's an abuse of the separation of powers between the federal and the state government. So that was a nice and, not necessarily unexpected. I mean, the Fifth Circuit can be very conservative and anti-immigrant, but it's pretty clear that states cannot create state-level immigration violations. They can't create an immigration system. I mean, SB 4 this is one of the reasons I wanted to run for office, because I was in those committee hearings when they were talking about SB 4, which was like to create a state law for immigration violations so that any police officer could all of a sudden arrest people. And it mandated that the magistrate judges would order people deported. And there was no plan for the logistics of how this would work for the state. Okay, so the magistrate orders somebody deported, and then how do we deport them? And one of the answers in the committee was like, oh, we'll just drive them to the border. And then it was like, but what if they're not from Mexico? What if they're from some other country? We're going to drive them to Mexico, and then what? And the state just didn't bother to answer those questions. I mean, it's really a ridiculous situation. Sometimes the legislatures, oftentimes I should say, but anyway, blocked by the courts, did not go through. SB 4, there's your update there. However, Operation Lone Star 2.0 is an effort by the state troopers in Texas to enforce immigration laws or to cooperate with ICE. That's been going on since January. They have detained more than 3,000 people in the state of Texas. So we are seeing a lot more cooperation between law enforcement and immigration in the state of Texas, specifically state troopers. And then starting next year in 2026, SB 8 is the law that will mandate cooperation between sheriffs and ICE. So any county that has more than 100,000 people in the state of Texas, which is most of our counties, will have cooperative agreements between sheriffs and ICE starting in 2026. It's got to be done by the end of next year. So it's not like January 1, but we'll be talking more and more about what we're seeing. Next item, arrests of teachers. We are seeing more arrests of teachers. A superintendent of a school district in Iowa was recently arrested this week. And just yesterday, I heard reports that another teacher in Austin has been arrested by ICE. I think this makes the third teacher in Austin that has been arrested by ICE. So we're seeing a ramp up against teachers who I would argue are the most important people in this country. The teachers who teach our children and keep our kids safe and educated and help develop and grow them. And ICE is going after our teachers. So I'll be telling you guys more about the specifics of those stories as they hit the news. And we can be talking about it. But ICE revoked the safe location memo, or Trump did at the beginning of his term, which says schools, churches, hospitals, domestic violence shelters are no longer off limits for ICE enforcement actions. And we are seeing those activities at schools. I'm not telling people not to send your kids to school, you need to seek medical care if you need it. You need to go to church if that serves your heart. Kids need to go to school. So what do? We understand the risks and we have safety planning. Please consult with an immigration lawyer. This is why I'm offering free consultations. Consult with an immigration lawyer. If you are an immigrant and you haven't yet had a consultation with an immigration lawyer, just DM me, please. Set yourself up for a consultation, because the number one thing to do is consult with a lawyer that you trust to find out, do you have legal status? Are you eligible for legal status? What level of protection do you have? What's your safety plan going to be? Please just do that at least. TPS Venezuela has been canceled for the 2021, the first registration. There's been some movement on DACA. Let's talk about DACA for a minute. And it's not good for Texas. DACA is legal. DACA initial applications are being allowed. However, the state of Texas, Ken Paxton, is arguing that Texas should not have to provide driver's licenses to dreamers in Texas. And the court, I'm sorry, Jackie. I mean, Texas is wonderful in a lot of ways. And so our state level leadership is not doing such a good job. Let's be honest. So basically the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that in Texas, the state shouldn't have to provide driver's licenses to dreamers. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So that therefore DHS should not have to provide work permits to dreamers in Texas. This was the argument that was accepted by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So what we're waiting for is Judge Hainan to essentially issue a ruling interpreting the Fifth Circuit's decision. So dreamers in Texas are waiting to see what is going to happen. There was some movement yesterday, I believe, by DHS in that case where they're arguing to have work permits immediately revoked in Texas. I don't want to send out mass panic because this is not a decision of the judge, but I will say the state of dreamers in Texas is very much, on shaky ground right now, and we're watching it really, really closely. Okay, let me see. I think I got to most of the news, and I see your comments coming in. So let's go ahead and do comments and questions. Okay, these are Spanish. Thank you for your live shows. They really help us stay informed. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I look forward to it being with you guys. We see all this news and it's so negative and it's so unpleasant. And then we get together and we remember we are the majority. Us folks who remember that immigrants are what make this country great. That's the bottom line. And the majority of people in this country know that. The approval ratings for Trump are dropping because of the way that they are treating immigrants and immigrant families. And we just got to stick together and stay loud. Okay, my spouse and I arrived. I'm going to move this over so I can read. My spouse and I arrived in 2016, applied for asylum in 2017. Okay, it's been 9 years and we still haven't been called. What can we do? It might be that getting called right now is not the best for you because of the state of things. So I honestly would not necessarily recommend trying to push it forward. I don't know where you are. I don't know, or where you're from. I don't know what your case is based on. If you have a work permit, if it's valid, like all of that stuff are questions that I have. But in general, the basic question of, I have an asylum case pending and it hasn't been decided, what should I do? My general response to that is, I'm not sure pushing forward a decision in this climate would be the best thing. So maybe let it stay pending, but make sure that you are complying with everything, updating your address, getting your work permit. And then if you're in removal and you've got ICE check-ins, that's a different story. You're at risk of being detained. So we should probably consult, but I don't know that I would push forward a decision right now. Is DACA going to be revoked in Texas for renewals or as soon as it is renewed? So see, I think that the judge would not make such a brash decision and just revoke everybody. DHS, this is the news from yesterday, that DHS is arguing that they should just revoke all open work permits. Now, don't let that send you into too much of a panic because DHS is monstrous and they're going to argue for the worst thing. Let me hang up this call. But that's the argument that they make. And I would say that a decision from Hanen on this is imminent. So stick with me. The minute something comes out, I will do a video for you guys. So follow me on the socials, and then we'll also be talking about solutions. So the news and then the now what is what we're going to be talking about. Do we know how quickly the current EADs will be revoked for DACA? I don't think they're going to revoke the current EADs. I think that is it possible that Hanen would rule that they're all revoked and then they get revoked? Yes, that is within the realm of possibility. And I'm so sorry that I even have to say that because I know that just sends mass panic through people. I don't think that the judge would do that. I think that it's more likely it's going to look like no renewals will occur. That's what I think will happen. But it is on the table that they'll just revoke work permits. But then it's like, okay, then what happens? Then a dreamer moves to another state and then applies for a renewal or as an initial. I just think that the chaos that would ensue from the immediate revocation would not work for the government. And so I think anybody who's thoughtful and thinks through that would not make that the order. That's what DHS apparently is arguing for. I just saw that last night from an attorney I think he's working on the case. I can't remember, but I'll keep you guys posted. ¿Puedo cambiar mi dirección para el DACA si tengo en Nuevo Mexico? Sí, I'm going to answer this in Spanish and then I'll do it in English too. This is going to be one of the tips. So in DACA, or in any immigration case, you have a physical address and a permanent address. And think about a college student who lives in a dorm, but that they really want to receive all their important mail at their parents' house. So that's the permanent address, is their parents' house, and then the dorm is the physical address. Well, you can do the same thing on a DACA application. You can have a physical address where it might be you're working temporarily, but your permanent address where your family lives or you go back there, that's where you want to receive your mail, is outside of the state of Texas. If that is true for you, that could be one way to work with this new ruling. I'm not recommending that anybody create a fraudulent permanent address, nothing like that. You don't ever want to commit fraud with immigration because that creates other issues. But if it's true that you have a permanent address outside of the state, that could be one way to work around any rulings that come. So la pregunta es si puedo cambiar mi dirección para una dirección fuera del estado, y lo que estoy diciendo es que es posible tener una dirección permanente fuera del estado de Texas. Un ejemplo es si una persona está estudiando en una universidad, pero la dirección de sus padres está fuera del estado. Entonces, podemos cambiar una dirección a una dirección permanente fuera del estado de Texas, aunque la dirección fiscal está dentro de Texas. No estoy recomendando como fraude, porque de hecho tiene que tener una dirección permanente, pero esta es una idea de cómo puede funcionar si alguien está trabajando temporalmente en Texas, pero tiene una dirección fuera del estado. Next question. Are we going to be able to renew driver's license without the... I'm back. Can you see me? I'm still here with you guys on TikTok. Let me see if my... Stick with me just a second. I'm having computer trouble. It says my browser lost connection to my camera. I'm back. Okay, well, we'll see. I mean, maybe I can't get back on the regular socials. You can hear me, but you can't see me. Okay, good. Well, thank you for that note. I'll keep talking, and maybe you'll be able to see me at some point, but I'll keep talking. I don't know how to change it, so this is, I was just saying this morning, like the business of, wait, I think I might have gotten it. Let's see, turn it on. There we go. I'm back. Yay. The business of traveling is, and getting the tech to work, and like the lighting, and actually everything's on a garbage can right now. Everything is sitting on a garbage can. Okay, are we going to be able to renew our driver's licenses? No. I mean, well, I should say, depends on the decision, but the driver's license is based upon the work permit. So if you don't have the work permit, you can't renew the driver's license. And that was the state of Texas's argument. I mean, I think we all need to get real mad at the state of Texas and our attorney general for even making this argument. It's such a preposterous argument that the state would be harmed by having to issue driver's licenses to dreamers in Texas. But that's what they're going with. And so it's not, just remember, it's not final. No decisions have been rendered, but it'll be forthcoming. There's over 1,000 of 100,000. Are they not thinking about how bad this is going to be? I don't think that they are. I mean, imagine, I was just talking to an elected official yesterday about this, about the state of Texas. And I mean, there's obvious sectors that are harmed by immigration crackdowns, construction, landscaping, hospitality. And there are the less obvious, or I would say the subsequent sectors that start to get really harmed. All of the nurses, all of the doctors, all of the home health care aides. And then you take the H-1B visa debacle and you think about engineering and STEM and tech and innovation and entrepreneurship. The impacts of these immigration crackdowns on separating families and then yanking DACA, it will be resounding in a negative way. Really, really, really bad. And that's why I hope that the judge who's rendering this decision will pause. I don't really know how much authority is in his hands. And my hope was that DHS would come to the table and be less aggressive. But that's what the thing that I saw last night suggested that they're not. They're pushing forward on an immediate revocation in Texas. Now, whether the court's going to rule that way, we don't know. But DHS is just going for it. And it's real bad. It would be real bad. I totally agree with you. But when we file for taxes, could we still file in Texas? You don't file a state tax return in Texas. Your taxes are, my computer's doing something again. Okay. Okay, so note to self, don't prop the phone on the computer next time. Federal, you file your taxes federally, so you're going to file with the IRS. You don't file in Texas. Could you have worked in Texas? I would argue that yes, you could if you have a permanent address outside. So these are things that I'll research all of this and work through this with you guys. Like, what specifically are the parameters of a permanent address? I did a little bit of research, and there's not a lot of case law or specificity on it. In fact, there's not even like a definition of what is a permanent address. They just sort of give these general ideas. So we'll have to sort of work through that. Talk to your lawyer, schedule a consultation. Remember that when you talk to a lawyer, your consultation is confidential, and you can talk through all your worries. You don't have to put all your business here on the internet. I mean, you're welcome to, and we can talk through questions, but if you have a private confidential question, DM me for a consultation. I was a victim of a crime and I want to know if I qualify for a U, but I don't have a police report. Would a restraining order work? So we would order the police report just to see, but we could, when someone has a restraining order or a protective order, we have two places where we could get the certification. We could get it from the police, but we could also get it from the prosecutors who prosecute the restraint. Like in Texas, there's a protective order unit within the prosecutor's office, and they can also certify. So there's two places to get it, but it's easy to order a report. Reach out, we'll help you. We can help you do all of that. Do you know why MALDEF said it would take years to remove EADs back in August? Yeah, this is because, well, this is sort of what I was hinting at, that up until recently with the TPS revocations, it has been almost a never seen thing where existing work permits for a program are revoked en masse. That would be, I mean, to a previous commenter's point, really, really detrimental. Imagine 100,000 people, if that's the number, I haven't researched it, 100,000 people working in jobs that are relying upon them. So even the lives of these folks and their rent and, their communities and their families, and then the businesses that rely upon their employment, all that poof going away would be really, really, really bad. So from a policy perspective, en masse revocations of work permits typically don't occur, which is why I'm really hopeful that that's not going to occur in this. And so I think that was probably MALDEF's. I didn't see that communication from them, but I think that was probably their argument that, they're not going to just revoke existing work permits. It would apply to renewals. So we'll see. Will this affect renewals? I just did mine, expires in February. Is there a time gap? I hope that yours gets approved before we have a decision come down. We don't know when it's going to happen. Chispa de bomba, you're with me a lot. Good to see you again. Would it hurt an I-785? I think you mean a 65 to request a congressman to request an expedited. Congressional inquiries can be helpful. In my experience, they don't typically help until you are outside of normal processing time. So when you have a case pending with immigration and you're wondering if it's taking too long, you should go to uscis.gov, or actually just Google USCIS processing times. And it'll take you to a page where you select your form number, so work permit I-765, and then the reason, and I think DACA is one of the reasons. So it's a drop-down menu, and then the office that's processing your request. And then it'll give you a timeline, 6 months, 5 months, 11 months, whatever. If you are within that posted processing time, they won't allow you to do an inquiry because they say, we're just processing it like normal. Just back off and leave us alone. That's basically their perspective. And that also applies with congressional inquiries. That they will say the same thing to the congressional offices. Within processing times, leave us alone, reach back out if it's outside of processing time. So there's not really a reason to expedite in my opinion, unless, I don't know. I can't really think of one that would actually go. I'm like, what if somebody was working, at NASA on some mission critical project and their work permit's about to expire and the project can't afford to lose them? It could maybe NASA talk to the congressperson. Maybe something like that. Maybe. Okay. Is it true that USCIS will want more than a clean record to approve DACA renewals? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that they are elevating the good moral character requirement or anything like that. That's not been part of any of the announcements. So for your DACA initial, of course, you have to prove physical presence. That's the hardest thing for people, is proving your time here since 2007. But eligibility otherwise is just the not having a disqualifying criminal history, that's easy to show. Will our current work permit be revoked? That's what we're waiting to find out, Miguel. I hope not. I really hope not. DHS is arguing for the revocation of current work permits. I don't think that the court would go for it. So we'll see. If my EAD expires in 2027, when will it be revoked? Don't know. We don't know. This is the same, DHS would argue to have it revoked immediately. I think that would be, from a policy perspective, so harmful and detrimental that the court wouldn't make a move like that. And then remember, if that move is made, that's something that could be appealed. All of this is like, I know dreamers are so freaking tired of this stupid court, having this status be so flimsy and shaky and up for debate is the most absurd and exhausting and ridiculous thing. And this is your actual life and your future. And you have to make decisions about whether you buy a car, buy a house, get married, have kids, literally live your life like a normal person. It is so absurd and exhausting. And I'm so sorry that this has been going on like this for so long. And I would say we are at a peak moment of uncertainty in Texas surrounding DACA. And hopefully we'll have some resolution quickly. What can we do? Get your U.S. citizen family members and friends to please register to vote and vote and vote. If you hear anybody in your realm, in your midst, say, I'm checked out, my vote doesn't count, I'm tired of I'm apolitical, slap them. I'm not advocating violence online, but nobody's allowed to say that anymore. Hello? Look at what's happening with voter apathy. So nobody gets to say that anymore. So what can we do? There's your tip of the week. Go around and collect all the people in your life that you love who are apathetic civic participants or voters and tell them no more. This is not allowed anymore. You have to become active now. There's your tip. Let's do a couple more questions and then we'll wrap. I'll keep you guys so updated on DACA. As soon as I have anything, I will let you know. Do I think other states will follow Texas? So far, it's just Texas. Just Ken Paxton, our Attorney General in the state of Texas. Sorry, I started watching too late. Are they trying to revoke work permits, or does this affect existing work permits too? DHS, I saw a post from an attorney who's reading the filings. I don't know if he's working on the case, where it showed that DHS is arguing for immediate revocation, cancellation of open work permits for Dreamers in Texas. That does not mean that the court's going to go for it, but it is it is the DHS position, it appears. Are you seeing any cases where medical status of a child, regardless of their documentation, is impacting the family's likelihood of staying, detainment, deportation? Well, remember, there's a defense to deportation for folks who have been in the country for longer than 10 years, have good moral character, and who have a U.S. citizen child who would suffer hardship, extremely unusual hardship if you get deported. And so when there is a child who is ill or special needs, that certainly helps those cases. So I would say yes. And as a general matter, if there's a special needs or medical needs child who is a U.S. citizen in the family, that can help protect the parent and keep them here. But anybody in that situation, I would urge you to consult directly with us, and we can help you think through how to prepare, what documents to gather. For people who are not eligible for legal status, we have a program called Luz en el Camino. It's a way to become our client, even though we're not getting legal status for you, where you get a letter of representation. We collect your important documents. We know what your wishes are, and we can respond quickly if you get detained. So there is something that we can do, even if you think there's no way to get legal status. So I would just urge you to reach out for a consultation if you have that situation. Amanda, what if someone applied for advanced parole? Will that in any way be affected? No, I mean, advanced parole is still valid and good. So still do your advanced parole if you can. Dreamers in Texas, I would not recommend leaving while this situation is going, because I think that it would be risky to be out of the country when a decision comes down if they do revoke work permits in Texas. So I think advanced parole in Texas. Travel right now, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying just this is a moment where I'd do a wait and see before actually traveling. If an I-130 was withdrawn, how long does it take to get an NTA? They don't necessarily NTA. It's a notice to appear in immigration court. They don't necessarily NTA for a withdrawn petition. They would send it over to the investigations unit. So it could not happen. It could happen quickly. It could take months. So there's your non-answer answer. Oh, there's our action tip. I like this one. So for those who are in Austin or nearby, we are doing a really cool community gathering the first Saturday of every month, Cafecitos y Charlas Comunitarias. It's at our offices, which are fun. We've got lots of picnic tables. We'll have a coffee cart. We are just chatting and getting to know each other. We're working on starting to invite some clients and vendors who have businesses and want to sell your stuff. We're having a voter registration event and a Dia de los Muertos celebration at our November Cafecito. But this Saturday is our Cafecito in Austin. So if you're free and you want to stop by, would love to see you at Lincoln-Goldfinch Law at our offices on 40th Street. And I'll be with you guys again on Thursday morning to talk in Spanish about updates. Maybe by then we'll have more information on DACA. We'll see. But of course, follow me. If I have any news, I will do an immediate video and get it out to you guys, maybe even before it hits the press. So stick with me. I'll keep you posted. And if you need a consultation, don't forget to DM. All right.